Hey guys, welcome to Yes I Can Chef. I'm Liesel and it's so great to see you guys. I know it's been a little bit, but I'm hoping that this demo finds you well and I'm ready to rock and roll. What about you guys? So today we're gonna cover dumplings and lumpia. And lumpia is a Filipino style egg roll, and dumplings in general are a piece of dough with a filling inside. So there's many different types of dumplings and many different types of egg rolls and spring rolls out there, but we just wanted to show you the basic techniques. Now over here, we have vegetables cut. So the really key thing, guys, to know is that you need a wrapper. So these are spring roll, egg roll wrappers right here, and these are dumpling wrappers. I can definitely post a recipe of how to make these from scratch, but today I just want to show you the basic technique on how to make a dumpling and how to make a, lumpia. So you can use any type of filling that you want. So the really key thing here is to make sure that you find a wrapper that you really like. There's many different brands out there. What I like to look at when I look at, for example, dumpling wrappers, if you're not gonna make it from scratch, and to be honest, these are actually, the ingredients to make these from scratch is literally water and flour, but it does take a long time to make. I've made these from scratch as well, but again, I can post that recipe for you. The main thing I like to look at is the preservatives and the type of ingredients that they add to it. I like to support more of like a local maker or anyone that really just adds the flour and the water, simply put, and just a few other ingredients in there. I try to stay away from all the weird, like different color additives that they have. And then I'll post this brand. I can't really think of it right now on here, but this is a thinner wrapper. There's definitely thicker wrappers out there. This is a flour-based one. There's rice-based ones too. So there's different types out there. Really key thing that we're gonna do is that you could use the whole one to wrap it, but I like cutting it in half to make a smaller egg roll, so lumpia. And then over here, your filling. Your filling can be anything that you want. So whatever you have in your fridge right now, you can take vegetables. If you want to make it vegetarian with mushrooms or tofu, you can definitely do that. Right now, what I have is I have ground chicken. So I like to use a leaner meat. You can use beef, you can use pork. Right now, I've just been practicing with chicken and turkey, something that my mom kind of introduced as we were growing up to kind of like transition from the ground beef, but you're more welcome to use anything that you have. So in here, let me just start with making the lumpia filling. So lumpia filling, I have ground chicken and I have an egg yolk. Later on when I seal it, I'm gonna use egg white to seal it. Over here, I have my ingredients that I already chopped. I'm doing carrot, celery, onion, garlic, just to stay true to what my mom does with this type of filling. But again, you can add noodles, you can add mushrooms, you can add whatever you really want. So I'm keeping it basic and simple today. So over here, I just took about half an onion, half a celery, and one whole celery. So it really depends on the ratio that you have with your meat. I'm not gonna be measuring over here. I just like to see that it has a good amount of each one in there, incorporated nicely. So a really key thing is to actually make a filling that you like. You know, maybe you don't like the garlic, maybe you don't like onions as much. You can just find a filling that you can create that you and your family can enjoy. So that being said, this is just gonna get all mixed up. Saves you guys some time from watching me chop. I think you've seen enough of me chopping, but again, I hope you're practicing your knife skills at home, because it's definitely one of those skill sets that's gonna make any cooking that you do just so much easier when you get faster at your knife skills. So that's that filling right here. Seasoning wise, I do sometimes put soy sauce, but for this, I'm just gonna keep it simple, and I'm gonna do some salt, some black pepper, and I'm gonna do some garlic, ground garlic, just to accent the garlic flavor even more, but not too much. Remember, you already put some fresh garlic. But again, I'm just trying to stay true to what my mom has done. That's what she does. You can do granulated onion as well, whatever you'd like. I tend to realize too that if you put too many of those dried spices in there, they do kind of burn off and they come out of the filling when you fry it. So I kind of stay away from that as much as I can. So I'm just going to season this up. Then we're also gonna make our dumpling filling today. We're gonna make pot stickers. So pot stickers is a combination of two different cooking techniques. So we're actually going to do a fry and a steam technique at the same time, and that's also the reason why they call it pot stickers, is because it tends to stick in the pan. But using the right technique, that shouldn't happen to you in the right pan, so make sure you're set up for success there. So again, right here, if you're just joining us, you can do any filling that you want, but this is ground dark meat chicken. I have celery, onion, carrots, and garlic, and celery as well. And then I have the egg whites for when I wrap it. I made a few dipping sauces that I'll talk about later because dipping sauces are key, right? Now for your actual dumpling or pot stickers right here, I'm gonna keep it simple. So you can add, I like to mix seafood sometimes. If I have shrimp, I'll do shrimp and chicken or shrimp and pork, like half and half. Or if you want, you can just actually cut little tiny chunks of the shrimp to have some texture in there. So I have some garlic, some green onion, and ginger. Keep it simple. I'm actually gonna grab too. I like putting a little bit of sesame oil. Sesame oil is really good too. So when I'm making like wonton fillings as well, maybe you have pork and shrimp, like I said. So different sauces helps out with that. Again, so I'm not gonna deep fry this dumplings, so it's okay to add soy sauce. I'm gonna add a little bit of soy sauce. I like to use a Japanese soy sauce. This is Kikkoman too, but it's used with it's called Maradaisu, so it's made with whole soybeans, so it's a little bit richer, a little less of the saltiness coming out of there, a little bit more well-rounded in the umami flavor.
Where do you buy it?
So when you go to the Asian market, maybe I should do a segment on that too when I go grocery shopping. It can be a little bit intimidating if you haven't been to the Asian market in a while. There's just like 100 different brands of soy sauce. And it's just up to your preference from experience, different ones you try. I like to taste those ingredients. So if you try out a new brand, make sure to taste it out. So that's this filling. I like to put white pepper in this one. Another thing too, if you like a little bit of chili, I'm gonna actually add some chili flake. So, not too much. You don't want it too spicy, because I'm actually gonna add also a little bit of the chili oil to my actual sauce with it. So just a dash, a little goes a long way when it comes to those dried chilies. So again, whatever filling that you want, if you like pork, if you like turkey, chicken, shrimp, whatever you want on that. So we have two different fillings here. We have our lumpia filling. We're gonna be sealing the lumpia with our egg whites. We're gonna be sealing the dumplings with just plain water. Really key thing too, while you're not working with it, make sure it's nicely covered with a damp cloth, not too wet, to keep it from drying out. Now, the next part we're gonna do is like really, really super important, is actually testing out the filling. So, I don't like guessing when I'm cooking. And guessing is like, oh, maybe it has enough seasoning. And another thing too, I've worked at very fine dining restaurants and I've worked at more mom and pop restaurants. There are definitely recipes to follow when it comes to restaurants. When it comes to cooking at home, I like to play around with the flavors a little bit more, and also just keep in mind when something on a recipe says like a soy sauce or a vinegar or sugar, it really depends on the brand that you bought. So I can't really determine, unless it says specifically the brand, then the flavor could be a little bit different. And maybe the carrot is sweeter that day, or the onion is a little bit more pungent, or the garlic as well is a little bit more spicy, and the ginger. So what I like to do, after I create my mixtures, again, let's zoom in on the mixtures, I like to test a little tiny piece. That way I know ahead of time prior to actually cooking and making. Imagine I made like 100 lumpia and 100 dumplings, and then I taste it later on after the fact, and it actually needed more seasoning. So I really don't like to chance it. So what I like to do, this is also one of the key tricks to working in a restaurant really taught me. For example, if you're making one versus you're making 100, really doesn't matter. You want it to be nice and consistent in flavor so that one customer or one family member gets the same experience and you get the same experience every single time. So get your pan nice and hot, and you're just gonna test 2 different batches here. So just a tiny little piece. So that way you can actually taste it, see if it needs more seasoning. And that way you actually have the control of adjusting your seasoning if you need to. So, just testing it out. This is a non-stick pan. And again, this is ground chicken. So cooking temperature wise, you wanna always take something that is ground to 155, but in relation to chicken, chicken needs to be cooked to 165, so ground chicken needs to be cooked to 165 as well. So I'm just gonna take this and just test it out. So we just wanna remember one of them is for dumplings and one of them is for your lumpia. Make sure you guys, you have any questions, go ahead and click below on the question mark, and we can go ahead and ask those questions down there. Okay, so you can always add more vegetables and you can always add more meat if it comes to the seasoning. I like to, Joyce, go caution on the side of error when it comes to seasoning. You're more than welcome to, once you find that perfect recipe, go ahead and actually weigh it out to see, like, so you can make it over and over again. But this is just if you're off the whim, you're like, hey, I have all these extra ingredients. I want to go ahead and actually make dumplings today. Yeah, fundamentals on the cooking temperatures. So another key thing too is that when you're taking this, right, you're gonna deep fry the lumpia later. Your deep frying temperature is gonna be at 350. So it's going to reach that internal cooking temperature, most likely, but a lot of people make their lumpia or their egg rolls way too big. I like it to be a little bit more small, just so I can enjoy more and it has more wrapping to filling ratio, but it's really up to your preference. So whatever that you like, you can go ahead and make sure that you do that. So again, I'm just testing these out. I'm just gonna cut to see, make sure it's like cooked all the way through. Again, when it comes to ground meats, you really wanna just be really, really careful. You don't wanna get sick from that. So again, a little paper towel over here. So I'm just gonna test those out. So that's the really, really key part, right? You don't wanna go to a party and realize, oh my gosh, it's too salty or it's under seasoned. So let's see. So this one is the pot sticker, or we're gonna make a version of gyoza. We use a little bit more soy on that one. And then for our lumpia filling, remember I put salt and pepper because I like caution on the side of error when it comes to soy, just because when you deep fry it, the soy comes out. So I'd say a little bit more seasoning on the lumpia as well. So it just needs a little bit more of that soy. You can get the really good vegetable flavors from there. I really taste the garlic, the onions, the ginger, it's all in there. It's all really good. So let's get back to it and start wrapping. So just a touch more. You're more than welcome to go ahead and test this out again. If I was making a huge batch and I'm making it for someone else, I would totally test it every single time I add a little bit more salt. But I can just already tell it just needed a touch. It really just needed a little bit more seasoning. Same with the lumpia. And so I'm just gonna add a touch more. And that's just the really key secret on consistency, is just making sure that you taste it ahead of time. Now, if I was at a restaurant, I would probably make everyone weigh out the filling. So what I would probably do is I would have this filling and I would tell someone, hey, I want 50 grams exactly of the filling for every lumpia, and I want 20 grams exactly of the filling for all of the pot stickers. I would actually be that specific when it comes to a restaurant. When it comes to cooking at home, and all of your parents out there, I don't see them weighing out the filling, right? It's all by memory, all by feel. So we're just gonna learn a couple tricks. And it's all about those tiny, tiny little tricks, right? It's all about those tiny, really details that you do that make a big impact on your final result. So we have our filling ready to go. So I'm gonna show you a couple of the lumpia first. Again, this one is the square shaped ones. What I really love to do is actually cut them in half. So ahead of time, you can go ahead and peel these away. If you forgot to defrost them, pop it in the microwave for like 30 seconds and you'll have them nicely defrosted. So no worries on that. Same with the dumpling wrappers as well. So this, have you ever had a egg roll that was just so much wrapper and not enough filling? I want to prevent that from happening. I like just the balance, so that nice crunch with a nice flavorful filling. So my mom taught me to cut them in half on an angle, okay? That really prevents you from having such a huge amount of wrapper versus your filling. So, again, you can do this ahead of time. You can have this ready to go, right? Make your filling ahead of time. So again, now they're actually triangles versus a square. Really, really key thing is always cover your wrapper, making sure that they're not drying out. You really don't want those edges to dry out. So just be very, very careful with that. Over here on the cutting board, maybe we can go take a look behind over here. Another thing too is I like to have a little bit of water. You're gonna get down and dirty here. Obviously you can always like wear gloves if you want. I never see my parents doing that, so I'm gonna be here right now. A little bit of water, make it not stick as much. Okay. For the lumpia, I see people making egg yolks and water, and you can use that as well if that's what you're more comfortable with. I like to utilize everything, the egg yolk as a binder for the filling, and the egg white my mom taught me so that you don't get that color on the seal. It's nice and clear when it fries. Okay. So over here, take your amount. Now the very first one, oh my gosh, the very first one is very crucial. So this determines the size that you want. So if you can use a 2 spoon, if you want to be a little bit more clean, you can. Use your hands too. A little bit of water to help you spread it out. Now, this is gonna be the size right here. So it depends on what you want. Do you want it longer? Do you want it a little bit thicker? How big do you want it? That's the question, right? How big do you want it? All right, so I like it to be a little bit thinner. Why? Because one thing is that it's nice and therapeutic to be making these, but I also prefer to freeze these so that I can enjoy them later on. So same technique as you would a burrito, pretty much, except the burrito would be a little bit longer. I actually take my egg whites, I brush the edges, making sure it's nice and centered. Make sure it lines up with the actual triangular tip right here. You're gonna fold one edge over this way as well. This part right here, you're gonna actually seal down. Then you're going to roll it nice and tight. Get it tight, guys. Get it right, get it tight, right? So this part right here, once you get to this part, make sure to push the filling in a little bit more, making sure that you have control over it. and then roll it nice and tight, making sure that this part is nicely sealed. And as it dries, I like to actually put it down. So as it dries, it's on the seal itself. But as you can see, it's like right there on the seal itself. Now, I could put this away and just put on the plate, but this is gonna serve as your ruler to all the other ones. So, since I'm not gonna be measuring it out in grams as I would in a restaurant, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take this, and this is how I'm going to measure it. All the ones I want the same exact size, right? So I'm gonna take this one on the bottom so I have a little ruler to go off of. Now I can actually spread it length to length of the size that I really want. Maybe a little bit more over here, I can see it. So now I want to line it up so it's the exact same size. And if they're not the same size, I used to get in trouble when I was younger. So this is something I take very seriously. Also, they fry differently. So you really want to make sure it's nice and consistent. So it's not just for the fact that it's all gonna look fantastic when you do it. It's really showing a skill set of consistency. And as you get better, obviously you can actually memorize this a little bit more. But again, left side, push it down, right side, push it down. Nice and tight. I go all the way to the edge and then I fold it over. Okay. There, right when it gets here, make sure it's nice and tight. And roll. Perfect, same size. And that's gonna help you. So you only just need one at a time. I don't wanna see you having a whole row over here. It's gonna dry out. So, piping bag for the filling. Yeah, go ahead and do the piping bag for the filling if you'd like. I don't have one right now. You can use a Ziploc bag, but also it just reminds me of like seeing my mom with a bowl of filling, with a cutting board and the wrapper. So just a little bit of this nostalgia, not putting it in a piping bag. So again, use one always have one right here if you're not used to it. That way you're gonna make sure all of them are nice and straight. So I'm just gonna do a couple more, just maybe one more so I can get into the dumplings. I don't wanna keep you here all night just being hungry. I don't know if you guys ate dinner yet, but I am so excited to be eating these. And as you get through, you know, if you find a perfect spoon that actually, like, say I find a spoon and I know exactly how much it's gonna be, then go ahead and use that as your measuring. If you wanna use a tablespoon, it's really up to you. Have fun with it. Like, I think it's very therapeutic when I make dumplings, when I make egg rolls. It's just something, a fun activity, you know? Like when I'm doing this, I notice that I really don't think about any problems, anything else that's going on. I'm just focusing on making sure I'm putting the best product forward so I can enjoy these. And so again, making sure you have your egg whites. Now, when we're gonna fry these now, it's really, really important to note that preferably I actually like frying them frozen or cold and refrigerated because I feel like it does keep it shaped better. So I usually make these, I make like 30, 50 at a time, and I put them in the freezer. And how long does it keep in the freezer? I don't like keeping it past 3 months, but technically, if you do study sanitation standards, like you can actually keep something frozen for 6 months. So I wouldn't keep it past there. I don't want you digging in and finding lumpia that's like a year old, okay? So please don't do that, guys. So, making sure it's nice and tight. Now, some of you might be wondering, because I was wondering this too. I see sometimes people making the fillings with cooked meat. If you don't feel comfortable putting raw meat inside, just so you know it's gonna cook all the way through, but if you don't feel comfortable with it, you can go ahead and cook your meat as well. If you're doing all vegetables, I wouldn't put raw vegetables in here and actually saute the vegetables first. So if you're doing tofu and mushrooms and vegetables, I would go ahead and make sure to do that too. Yeah, you can use, so what you do with the mushrooms, I would saute it ahead of time, making sure all that water content comes out of it. Because also if there's too much water content in there in the filling, then you're gonna actually risk having an explosion. So you would risk having an explosion to your actual lumpia there. So a little bit of hope and prayer that that stays while it fries. While I'm making the dumplings, I'm gonna put this one in the fridge. So. So I just put those in the fridge for now. We're gonna move on to our pot stickers. This one is mainly like more inspired by the flavors of gyoza, so the ginger, the green onions, sesame oil. I like that flavor profile myself. So again, these are the round ones, right? Again, if you wanted to make this from scratch, I have. It's just water and flour with the right amount of ratio, letting it rest and then really stretching it out. Very labor intensive, but I'm happy to like do that with you guys one day too. But again, here, let's just put a couple of them down. These are like, wow, like whoever cut these out, it's a little more on the oval shape, but it's okay. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take a little bit of the filling. You don't wanna overstuff it. I would say probably about a tablespoon. Okay. I just love being able to zone out a little bit with some dumpling therapy here. So dumpling, again, is just a dough with a filling inside in a specific shape. There's different shapes that you can do. It's really up to you on what type of shape that you want. But we're just gonna do a basic shape right here. So with water, no need for egg here. Go around the edges. I'm gonna show you two for now. Now, since this one too, the filling is raw, it's gonna help it seal. So here's the technique right here. So you can do it in the palm of your hand, or you can do it down, whatever is more comfortable with you. Pinch towards the middle, first step, right? Now you're gonna wet this outside, okay? Not too wet. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold it towards the center. 1, 2, 3, at least 3 on each side, okay? Then hold it in the center and you're gonna fold it towards the center here. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3 on each side, preferably. Making sure it's nice and tight. You're pinching the edges. Okay. Making sure it's nice and sealed right there. So we're gonna make that and do a couple more. Again, if you're just joining, we're using ground chicken today. You're more welcome to put some seafood in here, pork, whatever you'd like. Now, when you fold it and it kind of doesn't quite fit, you can stretch it out a little bit towards the edges. This one has just a tiny bit too much. So I'm just gonna take that out. So again, fold it towards the middle, nice and tight right there. Then you're going to actually seal it, wet that part, and then you're gonna go in. 1, 2, 3. Very simple, okay? You can get this. I believe in you. So 1, and it's gonna be delicious. This one's a little bit too much filling, so I'm gonna take it out. It's okay if you need to take some out, just reset yourself. 1, 2, pinch that out if it's too much. It's not like Din Tai Fung over here, just Liesel in the kitchen still practicing. So I would love to be that fast, make the dough. So again, I'm just gonna take it, seal it nicely, 1, 2, 3, on each side, just sealed with water. So if you're gonna do it in the palm of your hand, you're gonna do it in the palm of your hand. Water around all the edges, taking it towards the center, pinching it right there, then putting water around, and then you're gonna take it and you're gonna do 1, 2, towards the center, and 3. Pinching it to kind of flatten it out because it can be a little bit thick. 1, 2, and a little bit of the filling came out of that one. 3. Okay, making that half moon shape as well, helping it out. So 1 more, and then you guys can practice at home. So we're just gonna do an appetizer. And how much do you guys pay for this at a restaurant, huh? $12, $14, maybe for 4 or 5 pieces. Make a fun activity with at home. Again, pinch in the center. Get water out here. 1, 2, 3. And then 1 more time. 1, 2, and sealing that out. 3. So there you go. Have your right there. So now we're gonna cook it. We're gonna eat it. So right here. Make sure your pan gets hot. The lumpia is in the fridge right now. I'm gonna heat up. I'm only gonna cook a few, so I have a shallow pan. Obviously a deeper pan is much better. I'm gonna get this nice and hot. What we're gonna do is we're gonna only use water. You don't need to do any fancy chicken stock or anything when you're cooking it. So just some neutral oil you can use. So just a tiny bit of oil on the bottom. Nice non-stick pan. Maybe about 2 tablespoons of oil. Swirl it around. Obviously we want to be making more, but I didn't want to keep you guys all night. You want to listen for that sound, so it's not quite there yet, and you're going to need a lid. So again, when we're talking about pot stickers, you're gonna be pan frying it, and you're gonna be actually steaming it as well. So you're gonna need something to cover it up when it comes to the water that you're gonna be adding. So I'm just gonna be adding some filtered water. Filtered water. Heating up that oil. So I'm interested to see what type of dumplings you guys are making. So make sure you tag us and share with us what you guys make. So you see I like to pull it around. Get a nice little sound on there. You're not really gonna try to achieve too much color right now because we're gonna actually be right there. So it's just gonna accumulate a little bit of color. I know it's sad, it's only 4, but really making some. You can boil dumplings. So dumplings itself, that terminology is just a type of dough with a filling. So you can have steamed, you can have boiled, you can have ones that are pan fried. You can actually deep fry these as is as well, whatever you'd like. So it's a nice gentle color on there, not too much. It's gonna get more color after as well. So as you can see, like that, Now this part right here, just be very careful. Don't make sure it's not on high. You're just gonna do it and cover it towards half. Cover it halfway and then seal it. Now for the lumpia, I'm getting my oil nice and hot. Huh? So I'm gonna be showing you the dipping sauces while that's cooking, because that's gonna take a little bit longer after I wipe my hands. All right, so for how long you cook it for, I would say about 8 minutes. If it's gonna be a little bit longer, like 12 minutes, depending on if it's frozen. So if you put this in the freezer, you can go ahead and make sure to cook it a little bit longer because it's gonna come from cold. So right now it's coming from right now we just made them, so it's not gonna take as long on there. And you can take a cake tester or thermometer, make sure it's cooked on the inside, and you can just cut it if you want, just to make sure it's cooked all the way through. But that really just depends on you. And then also right now we're gonna zoom in on these. I have 2 dipping sauces right here, some sambal, I have green onion, vinegar, lime juice, fish sauce. Over here for our lumpia. I have for your dumplings, I have a chili oil in here with a nice soy sauce, lemon juice, and rice wine vinegar. There's all different types of things you can use. If you wanted to just have something on hand, and you can also just use malpoi if you want. You can just do soy sauce and vinegar, that's fine, whatever you really like. But if you don't have malpoi, you can make your own sugar, chili sauce, melt down the sugar and add the chili to it, and the fish sauce, the lime juice. So all of that too. So that's this. And then I'm gonna be frying up the lumpia. So that's pretty much how you make dumplings and lumpia. Do you guys have any questions for me? Banana ketchup. Yeah, Elena, banana ketchup. Jufran. I was talking to my brother, and he was talking about how he would love some lumpia and ketchup, actually. So, oil. Let's see. So this oil, yeah, black vinegar, Anisha, perfect. This oil right here, get it to 350. If you don't have a thermometer, really, really key, just cooking from the heart, making sure you're dropping it away from you and not towards you, so you don't splash it. So just to test it out, see it's bubbling, so just gently drop it away from you. Gently drop it away from you. Don't be afraid of it, guys. It's, you know, gently drop it away from you. And we're just gonna let that cook up. So, what I also like to do is have like a bowl or a strainer on hand with a little bit of paper towel in there, just because I like to, when I take it out of the fryer, I like to stand them up. So that way the oil drips down and it's not dripping down vertically, it's dripping down, not horizontally, but vertically. So the oil actually comes out of it. So, yeah, Britt, I'm hungry too. So, I can smell this right now. Just having a fun old time over here. What about you guys? Do you have any tips or any family recipes you'd like to share? I know everyone makes it different. So it was only just like recently, past couple of years, that my mom started using ground turkey when she's making lumpia, just to be a little bit more health conscious. I think everyone's trying to always find ways to be a little bit healthier. Again, you can make this vegetarian, right? You have some tofu, mushrooms, whatever vegetables you want. Just remember that if you're gonna make this with vegetables, I really do recommend that you cook the vegetables ahead of time. Cut it small, cook it ahead of time, saute it, so that it's not just raw vegetables inside of it. One, there's gonna be too much water content when it fries, so it's gonna pop more. And another thing that happens as well is that the, for example, say like there's a sharp piece of a carrot, and not that a carrot's sharp, but like it can just puncture the wrapper. So that's just something to keep in mind. You just don't want to puncture the wrapper. The wrapper is so delicate. You just want to keep it all together, and you don't want any holes in your wrapper. So let's just take a peek here. It's been about 5 minutes so far. Again, when you're opening up the lid, make sure to tilt it away from you. Okay. Just a little bit longer. That's the really key thing. I don't want you to be afraid, right? When you're putting something in the fryer, making sure it's tilted away from you. You know, even though it's hot oil, I just don't want you to be afraid of it. We're here, so just a couple more minutes on here on the chicken. Pot sticker is there. And then we can eat. You can do whatever garnishes that you want. So I like to eat it a little bit like Vietnamese style with like a lettuce wrap. So if you have nice lettuce, pickled daikon and carrots with some fresh mint, cilantro, you can eat your egg rolls like that. That's really good. Or you can just go straight into the dipping sauce. Maybe you have some pancit that you made. Hope you watched that demo. And then maybe you can just serve it with that. So it can be an appetizer. It can be an accompaniment to your main dish. It's really up to you. So just push in. Almost done over here. Are you looking for the water to fully evaporate? Yes. So ideally you want the water to fully evaporate and it to be like nicely cooked all the way through. But if you ended up having too much water, you can definitely dump it out. So I have the lumpias already, but they're really piping hot. Disclaimer, I know you're gonna be excited, right? Nice fried lumpia. I know you're gonna be excited to eat it, but let it cool off a little bit. You don't want to eat those right away. And then just checking here. Okay. So almost there. Almost there. You just want it to crisp up again, the natural starches on there. I love it when there's that lace of cornstarch and flour water on the bottom, and then they flip it over. I don't think we have time for that today, but maybe we can do it some other time. So here's that. It's almost there. And then I like to flip it out. I like to flip it out too. So this one is nice and done. What you're looking for is the actual wrapper to be, cooked and soft. And then the nice crunchy texture on the bottom to make sure that you're able to enjoy both textures right there. So right there. Nice. So we have those. And then you can simply enjoy, make your own plate. Let's see. Hold. Alright guys, there you have it. We have our two different types of egg rolls and dumplings today. We have your dipping sauces. It's too hot to try right now, so too hot to try, otherwise I'd be eating it already. So I'm gonna go ahead and have, yeah, here's the plate for you, Anisha. You can share with Shay. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have eat lumpia, it's too hot, Joyce. John's gonna say something like, you know, I don't know, John, what comment would you have if I put a hot lumpia? Hot. Mmm. Nice and juicy. It's nice and juicy and crispy. Okay. Mmm. Yeah. Joyce, that was for you. By the way, because we tasted it ahead of time, it's like perfectly seasoned. So that's really key. Even you know you have the nice dipping sauce, right here, let me show you. Even though you have this nice dipping sauce on here. You know the filling is nicely seasoned. It's nice and juicy. It's nice and steamy right now. It's delicious. So, pro tip. I'm gonna eat, I have over here, before you leave, okay? So, just a little bit of the ginger and green onion, dipping in the sauce. Nice, juicy, nice contrast in flavor. That tiny bit of chili flake that I put in there was adding a really good amount of spice, and the ginger is really coming through. I know if you don't like ginger, Elena, Franny, keep it out, but just put the green onion and the garlic. It's really nice and good. And that chili oil with the vinegar and the garlic with the soy sauce, awesome. So guys, thank you so much for joining me again. Make sure to make some lumpia and dumplings at home. Tag us, share it. I would love to be there vicariously through you guys, and I'm just wanting you guys to just practice technique. Again, it's not about the recipe, it's about the technique. Be creative, put whatever filling that you want, and actually you know the technique now, just practice it, and you're gonna get better and faster. So, love you guys, and that's a wrap.